right, what's up? What's up?
Hi.
How you doing? This is a special one.
A special one.
It's the first time that Sam and I are on a podcast, just you and me, right?
That's true. It's
'Cause the
always
other-
been you and I and someone else. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Usually it's Eric.
Yeah.
Eric's
And
not
Eric
on.
talks the most.
Eric talks the most? No way.
No, not Eric.
Eric, when you're gonna listen to this podcast,
We love you.
We love you, but you do talk the most. But it's good. He asks good questions.
He does always ask good questions. Eric's like the most curious one out of all of us.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, how does that make you feel? Or what does that do? I'm like, great.
It's good to
We
be
have
curious.
more to talk about, yes.
Good to be curious. So today, our Curious podcast, number 52, is about toxins.
Yes.
The scary word, toxins.
Dun, dun, dun.
What does it even mean? What are toxins?
Well, the people who sell you the detox juices would have you think that it's something that you can pee out, but it's not. I mean, eventually you do, but
Wait,
your body
what?
takes
Say
care
that
of it.
again?
I said the people who tell you or sell you the detox juices would tell you that it's something that you can just like drink the green juice and you just pee it out,
Okay.
but it's not. Although you do excrete it, probably through urine, but body toxins are like metabolic waste, right? From activities that we don't need to get into. But a lot of times, like in general, they're natural, right? They're like stuff that happens when you digest a food or when you breathe, like your lungs produce CO2. Technically, that's a toxin. Or like radical oxygen species are a toxin, but it's going to be produced in your body no matter what. The problem is when you have too much buildup of toxins. And that can come from many things, which we're going to discuss. But let's not get too far into it. Let's talk about...
Yeah.
We can talk about other types of toxins, I guess, which are really like toxic substances. Or
Okay.
toxicants.
Okay.
To be specific, right? Which that is like pesticides or something, or like some kind of substance that you can consume that you don't want in your body, like
So, like,
bleach.
environmental toxins.
Yeah,
This
stuff-
is what we're talking about now, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
like toxic substances that you can ingest or consume or be exposed to that your body doesn't naturally produce.
Okay.
Is something like pesticides, right? They put it in your food. You don't really want to eat it, but like it's in your food a lot of times, so it's like you consume it.
So I actually read somewhere that a lot of the toxins from our food come from meat, fish.
That's true. Yeah. So I won't say that all of them are bad, but a lot of toxins do come from meat and fish and stuff, animals that consume other things that then digest them and then we kill and eat them. They're going to have the naturally produced toxic substances inside of the meat when we consume them.
Okay.
Because we killed them directly after they ate, right?
Right.
So a lot of those do come from that. That's kind of why, not the only reason, but I would say like people are like, well, you shouldn't just eat constantly meat. Like the keto diet is kind of like controversial.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons, right? Because like you're not getting any vegetables, and you're also, unless you're prioritizing like meat that's like not raised in bad places or like mass produced and like doesn't have any chemicals pumped into them to make them bigger, stuff like that, you're going to be exposed to a lot of that kind of thing because of the cow's got to eat.
Cow's got to eat.
And
So
that's what happens.
depending upon what the cow is eating is
Right.
going to
It
obviously
makes a big
affect
deal.
us.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
What about, I heard about like the bigger fish in the sea, like they're loaded with more toxins. Is that true?
I mean, they eat more.
Oh, they eat more than
Yeah, I mean, they eat more, so, and they're big. And, fish are, people think we know a lot about the ocean, but fish are weird. Like, you eat a giant fish out of the bottom of the ocean, like,
Right. Why are you
do we
eating
really know what they're eating? Like,
Yeah, that's a good
I don't
point.
know. They could eat bacteria or stuff like that. They could be exposed to a lot more stuff that we really don't know about. And I don't know that much about it, but I do know, the more an animal eats, the larger they are, depending on what they're eating, what they're exposed to, like that's going to make a difference in how we digest it.
And aren't toxins bacteria?
Yeah, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Yeah, there is toxic bacteria.
Okay.
Usually they kill you.
Really?
Yeah. So toxic bacteria in general, like not all of them are toxic. It's the substance that they produce once they're digested that's toxic. So a good example is like botulism, is a bacteria. I can't think of the exact name for botulism, but
there's an exact name.
It's a bacterial name, right? Like it's got a full two word name.
Okay.
And that's a toxic bacteria. It puts out a toxic substance when you digest it, and it can kill you if you're not treated for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, not all bacteria is bad for you. I mean, like, we're exposed to bacteria constantly.
Well, isn't our outer skin also loaded with bacteria?
Oh, yeah.
And we need that to protect
Good.
us.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So there's good bacteria like that.
Yeah.
And good bacteria in our gut.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, E. coli lives in our gut.
Yeah.
But it can be bad. Overgrowth can be bad. It depends on the type. And I wouldn't say that they're necessarily toxic. In excess, they would be, but not all of them. Also, even in excess, would put out a toxic substance. Like we're talking, when we say toxic, we mean like anthrax. Whereas like somebody breathes that in and they're gone.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking about more of just like the everyday kind of toxins, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about what people are regularly exposed to, not necessarily like the outlier ones that are going to make you keel over right away.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we said, toxins are byproducts of normal metabolic functions, typically. When you hear somebody say, "Oh, I have a toxin problem," usually they're not saying, it's not something that you can cure on your own. Typically, if you have a toxin problem, like a buildup of toxins in the body, you have a larger problem that you need to take care of. The toxins are not the main concern, right? They will hurt you eventually, but if I have a problem with like a radical oxygen or like CO2, my lungs aren't working properly. That's the primary concern. Or like if I have a lot of toxins from metabolism, or like from alcohol, my liver's not working properly.
Right.
It didn't function right.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't live without a liver. So the liver failing would be your primary concern. And then the toxin buildup is just what makes it worse, right? It's going to make you feel like crap, and it would cause multiple organ failure eventually. So what I mean when I say the toxins aren't necessarily the main concern is that you have a larger problem if you have a buildup of natural occurring toxins in the body.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you said something in the beginning about like these juices, these green juices and other cleanses, and they don't work, right? And I actually did some research on that, and that's what everyone's saying as well.
Yeah.
Can you dive deeper into that?
Yeah, so when I see them marketed, I don't know about you, but like when I see them marketed, it's always a detox product, right? And like I said before, your body should take away most of your toxins that are naturally produced, or that you're exposed to, right? Like that is the function of some of our organs, the lungs, the liver, like other things like the kidneys. Their function is to take out waste and problematic species and excrete them.
Right.
Put them somewhere else, not in the blood, right? So when you have like a detox product, what is that really doing? I mean, like, it's not going to go, you're not going to drink a green detox product and it goes immediately to your liver and all of a sudden your liver is changed, you know?
Yeah.
And the liver and, you know, like for alcohol, you drink a ton of alcohol, you take a detox product, oh, I have no more toxins. No, that's not going to happen. Detox products primarily, and I'm not saying that they're not good for anything. Some of them have probiotics in them, like good ones and stuff like that. That's great for your digestion. And that's really what they're targeting when they're talking about that. And you can have a buildup of toxins from like your digestion not working properly, because the function of your intestines, like the small intestine stuff, is to pull waste, right? And create like a little package that you eventually excrete. But the primary target for a detox juice or something like that is going to be your intestines. It's not going to be like I'm going to drink this, and all of a sudden my kidney function goes from 0 to 100. If that makes sense.
So it makes sense. So basically, the kidney's in charge of cleaning the system of all these toxins.
So not only the kidneys,
but it has a big part of it, right?
They have a big part of it. The kidneys clean the blood. Have you ever seen somebody with dialysis?
I think so.
Yeah. So it pulls the blood outside of the body, filters it, takes out all the waste, and puts back things that are needed, water, stuff like that. Sends it back into the body.
So basically, that's the only truly cleanse there is, right? Yeah. Like when you hear about like these 14-day cleanse, like you got to do this for 14 days and then you're clean. Like that's pretty much
your bowels probably.
Well, but even then, is 14 days like enough? Are you really going to fix your system in 14 days by doing this drink?
No.
So
no, and I mean, once you put in substances again that aren't that, you're going to go right back to. If you're not consistently aware of it, 14 days does nothing. I mean, think about how many days we're alive, right? You're going to fix an entire problem in 14 days, and it doesn't even it takes more than 14 days to break a habit that you consciously do.
People are making a lot of money on that 14 days.
It takes 28 days to break a habit, so it cannot take only 14 days to fix your
cleanse
digestion.
your system.
Yeah. Again, like I said, some of these products, they're not terrible. I'm not going to say you should go and spend money on them because they're selling you something that's not going to work. But it does usually help your digestion a little bit for the time being. If you're really feeling like your digestion is bogged down and you want to drink juice for a few days, I wouldn't recommend only drinking juice, but your digestion might be better. And I mean, that counts for something, but you're not technically detoxing your body. Your body does that naturally. And we're also going to talk about, we should talk about some other ways, like, that you can do this, not necessarily to detox, but to sort of, like, assist your body in functioning optimally.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. So, basically, all the research out there says that there's toxins out there. We live with them all the time.
Always.
But our bodies are so amazing that as long as it's healthy and you're doing some of these things that we're going to talk about, you really don't have to worry about toxins.
Right. Because your body should take care of them naturally if it's working well. And that's what we're kind of here for. Because we make sure that people are focused on their health. And your health is the primary concern when you're talking about a detox. Because your body will do it naturally, as we've discussed, if you're healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
So a true detox basically means, I don't know how many things we got listed here, like 6 things, but basically doing these few simple things on a daily basis, more than 14 days, right?
Every single day of your life would be the most optimal way to take care of your health.
So every single day of your life, because we're living with toxins all around us, to protect ourselves, let our body do what it's designed. I mean, we came after these toxins, right? Like the human beings, they didn't pop on the planet and then, here come the toxins.
And we are the most exposed that anybody in our position has ever been, because we create things constantly that cause more toxic substances to go into our body. Man-made toxins. Yeah. So, I mean, like, of course, we're going to have naturally occurring ones from metabolism. That's been happening since humans have been alive, although, we kind of evolve over time. So it's a little different. But, I mean, thousands of years ago, they didn't have pesticides, right? We weren't exposed to that. Thousands of years ago, they didn't use the little spray house cleaner on everything that you smell and breathe in and bleach.
Raid? What about Raid?
Stuff like that. So we're more exposed than any human has ever been at this moment.
So sure, the lifespan has increased, but technology and health and all that stuff has increased as well.
Right.
But there's more toxicity out there because of what we've done.
100%.
And that's why maybe the disease rate is actually higher than ever.
Yeah, and why more people are becoming aware of this problem, and why people feel like they need to sell you something that can help you get rid of it. Because, I mean, they're not wrong. Like, you do need to focus on your health, right? Like, the people who... Some people really don't believe that they're scamming people when they sell detox stuff like that. They want to help, right? Because we are exposed to a lot of stuff. But there's only one true way to do it, and that's just to take care of your natural body.
You know, I will say about those products, it's great, like, if you do them for 14 days, but you don't stop after that. Like, it's a good starting point if it sells you on, like, okay, I'm going to do this 14-day cleanse.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, it is a cleanse, but it doesn't end in 14 days.
Right.
Like you said, because of what we've done to the earth and put out there, this is now our lifestyle. We have to literally do all this stuff, which we're going to talk about.
Be aware of it.
You got to be aware of it, right? There's no magic pill out there.
No,
right?
For anything.
For anything,
and that includes toxic substances.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we can talk about some of the things that we would recommend that people do to take care of their health. I mean, I'm sure. All
right, let's do it.
They can.
So I don't know. I think they're all important, but you know, we have to eat every day. So let's talk about food.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you mentioned about it that when you're eating an animal product, you're also eating what that animal ate and was breathing.
Right. Yeah.
So let's just say, for example, you're eating chicken and this chicken has never seen the sun. It's just cooped up in a cage its whole life.
Right. And
so
it was
the air,
possibly substances in order for it to grow and stuff like that. Yeah.
Why are we not like it? Why are we not aware of that? Like, I know people know, but they're still like eating the bad kind of quality meat.
Yeah, that's
maybe because it's just so readily available, and you're hungry, and you're busy with your kids, and you're busy at work, and you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna do it.
Right, and it's cheaper usually than
organic
products, which is awful. I mean, we got to come out this, socially. Sometimes people can't afford it, so it's not very well set up in order to keep people healthy.
Right. And hopefully it's going to change. I think it's going to change in the next decade or so. People are starting to realize, like, okay, like, dude, this is our health, this is our life and happiness.
There's more small farms coming up, stuff like that raise things right. But the whole point of this is to say, if you can do it, you want to focus on something that's organic. You want to focus on something that's non-insecticidal, non-pesticidal, non-GMO in general, natural, small, homegrown type of foods, especially meat. Because the meat products are what are most exposed to it, because they're often given stuff to make it grow, because they're not very well taken care of since they're being mass produced, right? But I mean, that also goes for veggies. I mean, like, I know that you, since changing your diet not too long ago, right, have really made that a priority, and it's changed the way you feel a lot. Yeah,
for sure.
And it does make a difference. And even vegetables are exposed to those kind of things.
So when you eat food that they say is diet is rich in antioxidants, that's basically a defense mechanism now for these toxins.
It's one of them. Yeah.
It's one of them. But if you're eating a lot of them, versus none of them.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of veggies and fruits, especially dark veggies and fruits, have antioxidants. And they're for that purpose. They're there for that purpose, right? Like, the world has figured out a way to help us sort of aid our digestion and metabolism and getting rid of toxic substances and free radicals.
That's why they're out there.
Yeah.
Huh?
So those are important to prioritize. Everyone should prioritize antioxidants.
So again, I think the importance is organic, natural, non-pesticide, like grown naturally.
I agree.
When we start boxing stuff up out there, whether it's food or ourselves, it's just not good.
And on top of that, anything that's processed is also a good way to think about this, because we're not just talking about like you can look at a piece of lettuce and be like, oh well, it's organic versus non-organic, but we haven't even touched on all the things that processed foods are exposed to. And those are included. So you want to, even if you can't get your hands on something that's non-insecticidal, that's a better choice. Produce that's not that has some of that on it is a better choice than eating a prepackaged processed food.
Because processed food, at the end of the day, you're actually putting toxins in your body,
you're putting
right?
A lot of additives that are not natural and stuff like that.
God, that's so scary.
So,
especially my son, he still eats processed food. But anyways,
yes. It makes a huge difference. Now, it's, a little bit every now and then.
But it just goes to show you how it's hard. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in the health and wellness business. Like, we're doing a podcast about this, and yet still it's hard with my son to protect him from that.
Right.
Because society has just made it so easy. It's cheap. It's profitable, right? It's all about money.
Yeah. And I'm not even going to lie. I mean, I still eat processed foods, not very often, but I mean, we all do at some point, like cake, I'm going to go to a child's birthday party and eat a piece of cake, like obviously, but...
I'll eat some vegan cake.
Right, yeah. But I just think it's important to bring awareness to it, because the less you can expose yourself, the better, right? And it makes it easier for your body to sort of function long term if it doesn't have to work so hard to constantly get stuff that's being produced out. That's not great for you. Yeah.
So food is a big one. I'm gonna put reducing sugar under that one,
of course,
and because sugar is just all processed.
Yeah.
But another thing too is, like, when you're eating a lot of sugar and when you're doing some of these other unhealthy things, your immune system doesn't work as well. You're more exposed to diabetes, heart disease, and at the end of the day, then your organs can't fight to prevent the toxins buildup, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you eat, like, too much sugar, especially, like, added sugars, which literally have no nutritional value, right? Like, added sugars is literally just sugar. Sugar's not bad for you. All carbs are broken down into sugar. Actually, Megan and I just... I'm plugging the previous podcast. Megan and I just talked about that. But you need sugar.
But most sugar's processed.
Yeah.
So, like, honey's different.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, naturally occurring sugar's fruit. Honey.
Right.
Stuff like that. But added sugars, they're going to, especially if you overconsume, which is easy to do because it makes food taste better, you really subject yourself to developing something like diabetes or heart disease or something like that, because your pancreas is working overtime, like your insulin sensitivity drops. That makes a huge deal for sort of sending glucose to muscles and organs that need it in your brain. And ultimately, that's going to cause a decrease in functioning when things don't get the amount of energy they need and don't get subjective to the right amount of hormones and stuff like that. And then we end up with something like kidney disease or liver failure, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now my body can't get rid of any toxins itself, so I have to have dialysis or something like that. You don't want any of your major organs to fail, but anything that is sort of like your waste excretion, you definitely don't want it to fail, because it causes a really unhealthy and painful buildup of substances that you don't want in your body, that can cause other problems. So,
okay, so there it is.
Yeah. No
processed food, including sugar.
Avoid added
sugars. If you want sugar,
you
get it naturally, organic.
Honey is great. Yes.
Okay, so the third tip to defend against all toxins is to cut back on alcohol. Yeah. Oh, who would have thought that? But, I did not know that one, like, 2 years ago.
Right,
Actually, I did, but it's just like, it's awareness. Like, we think it's not that bad to have, 2 to 3 drinks. It's fine. I'm going out with friends. I'm having 2 to 3 drinks. But what does it really do to the body, Sam, and toxins?
Well, I mean, alcohol in moderation, I'm talking like a beer a week, right? Like, I think
a beer a week.
Yeah, I'm talking like
not a beer an hour.
Right. I think the recommended for like a medical practice, right? The recommended amount for females is like the maximum is like 14 drinks a week, and that's like when you start to talk to people about like, why are you drinking so much? If that makes sense.
That's the medical.
That's what they say, right? And that's 2 drinks a day, so that's too much. In my opinion, I think it's too much. And also, you're going to feel the effects from that, which is why in medical practice, we start to talk to you about it, because it's not necessarily like that you're automatically like, we're going to be like, oh, why are you drinking so much alcohol? You're terrible. Like, you don't do that, blah, blah, blah. But the long-term effects on your liver is really where alcohol becomes a problem, because the liver is the primary organ for getting rid of alcohol sugars in the body, which are toxic. Like, they create the only thing they create is sugar and toxins, right? Certain types of toxins.
Mm-hmm.
And the liver is completely responsible for ridding the body of it. If you overconsume alcohol for any extended period of time, and I'm talking like a few years, stuff like that, your liver, it's tired, right? Like it starts to like decrease in function because it works so hard constantly when you're constantly consuming alcohol. And even if your liver's not failing, like, you know, we have stages, whatever. But even if it's not failing, any decrease in functioning is going to cause problems because then it can't aid in normal metabolic processes. It can't aid in transferring blood, stuff like that. It just doesn't work that well, right? And we don't want this because then you have a buildup of toxins. Again, it's a cascade. You have other organs that get involved because they're trying to pick up the slack. Alcohol really takes a toll on the liver, and that's the primary concern when you're talking about it. It'll cause a lot of inflammation, a lot of other problems. Like even me, and I'm going to be completely honest because I think it's the best policy, but like I had my bachelorette party this 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, and, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Amazing.
And I drank, right? That's what you do for a bachelorette party. I never drink. I can't even remember the last time I had a drink before that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I immediately, the next day, my hands were so swollen that I couldn't take my ring off my finger.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
The body working real hard.
Just the body's working overtime, so you just swell up.
Yeah, and probably dehydration, and then your body trying to hold on to water. There's lots of things at play, but what I will say is I don't wake up on a normal basis inflamed.
Right.
I don't wake up with edema all over my body on a normal basis. So that was the initial reaction to me over consuming alcohol one night.
Wow, one night.
Yeah. And you know, it takes a toll on your liver. Your liver, that's its job.
Yeah.
And it's trying to keep you alive. And
now, someone who drank a lot and then stopped drinking, the liver does regenerate, right?
it recovers.
Yeah.
It recovers.
Thank God.
Yeah, right. Lots of things will recover. The liver is hardy, right? Like the kidneys are kind of wimps. Like they start to go downhill and they're like we'll never recover. But the liver is like one of the only organs that can be.
The liver is a trooper.
Yeah,
huh?
resected. Like you can take a whole section of it away and your body just picks it up, right? And okay, there it is.
But that just shows you how important the liver is.
Yeah, it's very important, and it's a huge player in alcohol. So, yes, your liver will recover, especially if you really start to take care of your body. It will recover. Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. 20 years of a lot of drinking history.
Don't be too worried. You'll know if it starts to go downhill, trust me. Yeah. So,
I think, again, most of us who are listening to this podcast know how bad alcohol is, but sometimes we're just not really aware of how bad it really is. And again, just bringing awareness to it is why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're not like demonizing alcohol. I know some people like to have a drink, like whatever, you know. Again, the medical recommendation is pretty high.
It seems high. 14 drinks a week.
I think.
Can you just box it up into just one night? And that's.
I wouldn't recommend that. But I don't really know. All I know is like the general recommendation because I have to ask people about it. Usually, I would refer them to somebody if they had like a true drinking problem. But I just know that when it gets to almost that amount is when we're required to start asking, like, you know, or like. Maybe offering some guidance as to like cutting back a little bit because that's the point at which your liver starts to suffer a little bit from that specifically, not from anything else. But you know, having a glass of red wine once or twice a week, it's not going to kill you. We're not trying to take away all your small joys in life. It's just something to be aware of. And we would recommend definitely cutting back. Or if you just really don't like it, like me, like I just don't like to drink. It doesn't really taste that great to me, and then it makes me feel like crap the next day. Just don't do it.
Yeah,
You'd be better off for it.
Sounds good. Okay, so number 3 was cut back on consuming alcohol. So instead of drinking alcohol, we can drink more water.
Water.
Which, again, I think most of us know the benefits of water, but
Yeah.
that's the surefire way how to keep our body healthy from toxins, right?
100%. You should drink at least a gallon of water a day.
That's 128 ounces?
Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I drink more than that.
Well, yeah. Shoot for a gallon. I mean, for me, honestly, when I recommend for really active people, I say 1.5 to 2 because they're doing a lot of activity and they probably sweat and stuff like
Right.
that. But a gallon is a great thing to shoot for. And trust me, you will not be thirsty for anything else if you drink a gallon of water a day. And you'll be tired of going to the
I
bathroom.
think those are 2 different kinds of thirsties.
Right.
No one's actually like, well, I
Thirsty.
guess you can be thirsty for a beer on a hot day, but is it really thirsty for beer, or you're just...
I think they're thirsty for water.
Yeah, you
and
should.
they
Okay,
say
so if you're
a beer will
thirsty,
taste better.
drink water. Don't drink pop. Pop's not the same, right? Because then you got that added sugar. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So drink lots of water.
Lots of sugar.
And water's good for all the organs, right? The kidneys, the liver,
It's good for everything.
everything.
Everything needs water.
Aren't we 70% water?
It's like something like
So-
that. Similar. It's close to that. I'm sure it's like a percentage that is very specific, but it's close to that. Like a lot of our body is water, and everything our body does is reliant on water.
Yeah.
So, definitely drink more water. What else?
I think we should talk about the importance of exercise and mental health.
I agree. That's what we're here for. All.
So I think both of those basically boil down to one simple thing, and that's your body's immune system.
Yeah.
Because when you're mentally healthy, and what I mean by mentally healthy is not stressed out, not worried, not anxious, not sitting in a low state of depression, when you're not in that, your body works better.
Right.
When you're in that, your body doesn't. It's simple, right?
Yeah.
It's like the brain is connected to every single living cell in our body. All trillions of cells know what's going on in your head.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
It's really just as simple as that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the thing about like taking care of your mental health, especially, and we'll give some. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but again, we'll give some things like that you can do to like really focus in on your mental health and like your emotional wellness. I think that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
But your mental health is completely tied to your physical health, right? Like anything that's stressing you out mentally is going to have a physical effect on the body. They're not mutually exclusive, like,
Right.
So they work together, right? And you're going to have a very specific hormonal response when you're stressed out, which is caused by mental health, depression, anxiety, stress in general. All of those things are going to cause a physiological response in the body, which typically leads to the body feeling very stressed and most of the organs functioning being decreased, because the body can only, I mean, don't get me wrong, the body does a lot at one time, but if you're systemically stressed, the focus is going to be on that and why that's happening and taking care of that, not necessarily digestion or getting rid of, the alcohol that you drank the day before. That's a byproduct, because it needs to deal with the fact that you are having all these stress response hormones released into the body and why it's happening. So the mental health plays a huge role in a physiological response that's going to cause decreased organ functioning for even just a short period of time or a prolonged period of time if you're having chronic stress or chronic anxiety or something like that. Which makes it even worse, because anything that lasts a long time that's negative is not going to be great for you. So
Yeah, it really just goes to show you how vastly intelligent our body is.
100%.
And this is a perfect kind of like segue into how do you practice mental health in all areas, is understand that you are your body. You are this vast intelligence that's operating a trillion cells and knows exactly what cell to turn into bone, what cell to turn into muscle and tissue and all that stuff.
Right.
You are that. Mm-hmm. You are that being. You are not the thoughts that you're having. So if you want to practice not stressing, not living in worry and anxiety, separate yourself from some of the thoughts that you're having. Actually, mostly all of them. Again, I'm going to go back to what Harvard did several years ago. I say this all the time, but it's just every time that I say it, it just reminds me and everyone else. 70,000 thoughts a day. On average, 90 to 95% of those thoughts are all repetitive.
Yeah.
So you're having the same negative thought. By the way, 70 to 75% of thoughts are all negative. So you're having the same negative thought over and over and over, and that's causing what we just talked about in your body.
Yeah.
So understand that you're not those thoughts. Separate yourself from the thoughts. So you can call that meditation. Yes, you can sit and do it. You can walk in nature and just be present and stare at trees and birds and really try to hear the sounds of everything. Stay present.
Right.
Okay? And you can also do stuff like contemplating your emotions. Too many of us are afraid to go into our emotions, right? And we bottle those up. And what we're doing is we're creating these blockages in our body.
Right.
By doing that. So sometimes contemplate and sit with yourself, and don't go, for the outlet with alcohol. Obviously, now it's like you're doing two compound bad things.
Right, yeah.
And again, I know this because I was doing this my whole life, and I was feeling it. I was feeling like really unhealthy and quote unquote old at like the age of like 35, right? And now I'm 43 and I feel amazing. So whatever you want to call it, again, meditation, but just separate yourself and understand that you're not your thoughts, okay? You're this vast intelligence system that can literally like cure anything and do anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good way to explain mental health in this focus, because it's a huge, huge deal when talking about, what our topic today, body toxins, because the worse your mental health is, the worse your physical health is going to be, the less your body can get rid of things that it doesn't need, and fight off things that may be coming at it, like, in general, just like viruses and stuff like that. But like, especially what we talked about earlier, like your body can't help get rid of things that we're exposed to that are toxic, even more when it's not functioning properly. So there's lots of things that your body has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, millions of things, and your mental health plays a huge part in that. So it's something to really think about. What Jeremy said, you can meditate, you can see a therapist, you can, do whatever.
Exercise.
Exercise, eat healthy, have journaling, stuff like that.
Yeah, and this one I kind of lumped into one, which is basically just do regular exercise and practice mindfulness, because they are kind of related. Because if you are exercising, then you're probably pretty present, right? I mean, if you're strength training or you're running outside, you're not necessarily in your mind if you notice. So regular exercise and practice mental awareness and mental health.
I agree. And then the last thing that we wanted to touch on was sleep.
Ooh, we just did an entire podcast about this.
Yeah, sleep. Obviously, refer to the what podcast number was that?
I think it was 48.
48. Whatever one has sleep in the title.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it a little bit in this scope, which is about toxins in your body, sort of working to get rid of things that you don't need and don't want. And sleep is a huge player in this, because when you do sleep, that's your body's main time for excretion of metabolic waste, of digestion, of codification of memories, stuff like that. So if you don't sleep, or you don't sleep well, you're going to have a hard time functioning. And not just mentally. Your body will have a hard time physically functioning the way it needs to after a prolonged period of time.
And that makes sense because, like I just was talking about before, that we're not our thoughts, we're our body. So if you're tired, if your body is tired on a cellular level, literally, how is that going to affect now the mind?
Right.
So it's like this loop that's happening from one bad night of sleep that now leads to stress, negative thoughts. Now you're affected, your body's affected. So sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, everything in your body happens on a loop. Literally everything.
That's true.
There's nothing that is linear in your body, and most of them are negative feedback loops. And you're gonna be in this constant loop of negative things happening if you don't prioritize a lot of the stuff we're talking about. Like sleep is just one of them, but it's a big one because that's your recovery time. And if you don't recover from all the things you're doing, like you have to eat every day, right? You have to have metabolic processes to stay alive. But if you don't have the process to get rid of all the metabolic waste after that, which is sleep, and the time to do that is sleep, what happens? It just stays. It just builds up. So we really, really love to emphasize sleep here. And if you don't love to sleep, I can't relate because I do. And I think you should learn to love it. Like we need to get good at sleeping and letting our bodies rest because that's the only way it can truly be optimal and healthy and do the things that you want it to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if there is a person who doesn't like to sleep. I think they're fooling themselves if they're saying they don't like to sleep. They're fooling themselves by saying that I got too much to do and this is more important. Right. But in reality, it's like, and by the way, when we're talking about sleep, it's literally like 8 hours.
Oh yeah, it's got to be a sufficient amount of sleep. We're not talking like you sleep 2 hours a night. I'm talking like you get every cycle, including REM, and it's deep, good sleep where you can actually have dreams and remember stuff the next morning and not have brain fog and stuff like that. I mean, I think anybody who doesn't like to sleep doesn't have a good sleep habit or sleep habits. And it's just so important in every aspect of recovery, and especially this one.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, all the latest research, we just took a small little online class, says that it's 8 hours of sleep. It's not 6. If you think you're getting enough sleep at 6, it's just not. Why function at like 80%? Why wake up and already be at 80% when you can be at 100? And everything can honestly wait. It's all about prioritizing. Maybe you watch an hour less of TV. Yeah. Maybe you don't surf the web or go on social media. You definitely shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have a TV in your room.
Yeah.
You can listen to the podcast 48. We dive deeper into all the latest research, but it's actually pretty scary. It's scary when we don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, I mean, what is it like after? They made a movie about it. I can't think of it. Is it 3 days of no sleep, completely no sleep, or like 4 or 5 days?
And you're dead. Yeah, absolutely.
Because your body literally cannot regenerate. So like your neurons die off. Like your brain literally dies, which is crazy. So if you think it's not that dramatic, it is. And the toxins are, if you're not sleeping at all, that's a secondary problem that you're going to have because your brain's not going to work. But yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about sleep, but all of these things that we mentioned are equally important.
They're all important.
Keeping your body healthy, and making sure that you don't have any negative, build up or function problems from just not taking care of it, not taking care of your organs, and not getting the foods that you're supposed to get and stuff like that.
Yep. Okay, so the best way to protect from toxins is not going to be a 14-day cleanse. It is a good way to start, but the body is intelligent enough to prevent toxic buildup by doing these things. Number one is buy and eat organic, whole, natural, non-insecticidal food, produce. Just know where your stuff is coming from. That's number one. Number two is avoid processed food, especially processed sugar. But all processed food. Number three is cut back on consuming alcohol. Number four, drink lots of water. Number five is exercise regularly and practice mental health awareness. And number six is sleep. Okay, so 6 things to avoid body toxins that harm you and age you.
And again, a detox product is not going to do this. Especially if you're healthy. If you're super healthy, I like to think, we take care of ourselves. We're very aware of most of this. I think, admittedly, I'll have cake or something every now and then. But for the most part, like none of us have any illnesses that are diagnosed. Like we don't have diabetes, anything like that. I would never go and buy a detox product because my body's doing it for me.
Right.
So don't waste your money, don't waste your time. And also the detox products cause people to undereat wildly when they're doing them, usually because they just drink juice for a week and a half. So don't do that because your digestion will not be good afterwards. If it's a good detox product and you're working with somebody and it's healthy and you're getting enough food and nutrients, it's a good way to start.
It's a great way to start.
It's a great way to take care of a digestive problem that needs immediate action. But for the most part, your body should do all of these things for you.
Yep.
So
it's that smart, that intelligent. That's who we are.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Podcast 52. You guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about? Hit us up. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.